Why do you got your hood on like that?
Well, when I came home from school, my head started to get really hot, so I drank some cold water. But it didn't do nothing. So I laid in the bathtub for a while. But then I realized that it was my hair that was making my head so hot. So I went into my kitchen and I shaved it all off. I don't want anyone to see.
Welcome to the Perfect Movie Podcast. The podcast where we answer the question, is this a perfect movie? I'm Michael.
Kayla.
And today, the movie up for discussion is 2004's Napoleon Dynamite.
Napoleon Dynamite.
It's a comedy film, independent film, directed by Jared Hess.
Also the director of Nacho Libre.
Yeah, I believe written by Jared and Jerusha Hess, who are a husband and wife directing team that I guess this film was made at the end of their time at Brigham Young University. So, Mormons? Question mark?
Probably.
Mormons?
If you see him showing up at your door. Yeah.
Knock, knock. It's Napoleon Dynamite.
Do you believe in God? Freaking idiot.
I'm here to tell you the word of Jesus. God. Oh, man. Okay. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. Definitely one of those movies that had a big influence on me as like a preteen, a child, a young teen, I guess.
A young dumpling.
Yeah. As a dumpling. No, but it was like one of those movies that I saw. I think I saw it like maybe like when I was like 12 years old or something. My siblings loved it.
I want to say that you introduced this movie to me.
Maybe.
I feel like you did.
It was definitely a thing. There was a period in my life where my personality, before I like developed my own sense of humor, my personality was just like Napoleon Dynamite's humor.
Quoting Napoleon Dynamite the entire time. Like
yeah.
In every conversation you had with somebody.
Quoting Napoleon Dynamite, running away from conversations, saying like, I don't even care. Shut up. You're an idiot. Gosh.
We should get out of my life and shut up.
Napoleon, why don't you go on there and get yourself a job?
I mean, I don't mean to cut you off, my bad, but I agree with you. I think this is definitely one of my favorite movies. I could watch this like anytime. I actually like try to watch this maybe like once or twice a year if I can. It's also my girlfriend's favorite movie.
Really?
So yeah, we have some bonding time over this film. It's pretty good time.
Well, I guess she's got good taste. Yeah, Man, going back and watching this, because I haven't watched it in a while. I don't make a time for Napoleon Dynamite, I guess. But then when I came back and I watched this, I was like, wow, it's just one of those like quotable movies. Yeah. Like if you were a Napoleon Dynamite fan, you were saying dumb Napoleon Dynamite quotes to people. Like people used to do like Monty Python quotes or like would quote like Airplane to each other. It's just one of those films that
it's just timeless. Like the humor in it is timeless.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's very of a time.
Right.
Made in 2004. And then the aesthetic is very like 80s, 90s.
Yeah, I was going to say, when is this set?
It's set 2004, 2005.
Okay.
But
because I seen like Kip had like a Walkman and stuff. It just felt like it should be the 90s.
Well, I read a little bit and it sounded like, so it's set in Idaho. It's in small town Idaho. And then
just the middle of bumfuck nowhere, like
yeah. And the writer directors also grew up in Idaho, like the Hesses. They, I guess, went to the same high school. They were around each other. Like this was very like autobiographical or biographical for them. They were making a movie that's not directly about them, but it's about like people in the life that they lived.
Well, that would explain why it feels so genuine. Especially just like the characters and the humor everything's super awkward and like, I mean, it's one of those. I guess you could classify this film as like a teen movie.
It's a teen movie, but it doesn't have the sort of like sappiness about it. It does, but it's like it's I don't know. You say teen movie and I think of a very different movie. It's a movie about teens, teen love. They're all in high school.
Right.
The ending is at like a school dance, or no, it's at the election. The president for president.
For Pedro, yeah.
Yeah, there is a dance number, but that's not what they're there for. But it's just, I guess what really struck me watching it again was how, like, sure-handed the filmmaking aspects are. That it's, like, really, like shots and colors. There's a lot of, like, themes going together that,
Yeah.
I don't notice.
Like what you said with the colors, and I guess we can get more into this in our segment of It's an Art, Bro. But
Yeah.
like it's very vibrant. Everything is super bright and kind of in your face, and like there's a lot of close-up shots of the characters. And like if you notice in the background, there's like a fly buzzing around them or something. It's just
Yeah.
like the most awkward angle for the camera or whatever. But it's just, I don't know, it works super well with the theme of the film.
Pointing at characters, like pointing the camera at weird characters and
Yeah.
weird people and just letting it hold there.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you think it's like too much, no, we're holding a little longer.
You get a chance to like study their face.
And then a fly comes in and like is buzzing around, and then eventually it cuts and something happens.
It's like everybody in this town is just super sleepy the
Yeah.
entire movie. Like everybody is like, either they're just really depressed, or I don't know, maybe it's like that small town where it's just like it's kind of slow moving, not a lot's going on kind of thing. But
yeah,
I noticed that a lot in the film. So
for sure. I think we should get into our segments because I think there's a lot to say that we don't want to blow
Yes.
before we get into the segments. So let's get into the performance test.
It was the performance of a lifetime!
The performance test is where we talk about our favorite performances, actors, moments, characters. I think number one, I mean, everybody's great in this movie. Like, everybody nails it. But number one is John Heder as the titular Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
Just a perfect performance.
just a classic character. He's pretty. His character is pretty iconic.
It's just so, like, you see like him talk normally and you're shocked because it seems like this is, you are Napoleon Dynamite and you're playing this other guy right now.
Yeah, it's funny because if you see him in any other medium, like he's just super weird looking. He's got these really like phosphorescent teeth and like he's just the weirdest looking guy. I'm like, bro, where are your glasses? Where's your curly hair? Like, yeah.
And so most of these people, I was reading up on the production process. A lot of these people are not like known names. Like the Dietrich Bader as Rex, the karate instructor, Rex Kwon Do, as that guy who's he's like, do you think I'm less of a man because I go home and just startle at night? Do you want a roundhouse kick?
And his wife is just like some dude in drag.
Oh my god, this is definitely gonna devolve into just screaming Napoleon Dynamite.
You know,
quotes
one
at each
thing I
other.
love about this movie too, I don't mean to go back, but like this is such clean comedy. Like if there's any such thing, this is clean comedy, but it's like it's effective in what it does.
It
It doesn't have to scream profanity at you every freaking 5 seconds for it to be funny or for a joke to land. So
Yeah, I'm no snob or like about, obviously, if you've heard some of the jokes I've made on this, but yeah, it is fun that it's like, none of it seems like, they're not just like, oh, isn't it funny his dick's out now? Like many sort of the newer comedies.
Well, it's funny. I just watched the other day. We just put this on randomly. Get Hard with Kevin Hart and Will Ferrell. Fucking awful. The movie is terrible. Like the entire time they're just making like, because the thing is like Will Ferrell is supposed to go to prison for like money laundering or something, and so Kevin Hart's got to help him get hard. And so the entire movie is just jokes about butt rape and how Will Ferrell is acting ghetto, and it's fucking awful. And this compared to Napoleon Dynamite, it's like,
and I bet, I don't know anything about that, but I bet a lot of that movie, because of the two actors in it, Kevin Hart and Will Ferrell, was being, They were making it up on set. They were, why can't I think of the word? Oh fuck, we're both brain dead. But you know, they were improvising. There's the word. They were improvising, and I bet also a lot of people ask if in Napoleon Dynamite if they were improvising. No, that's basically all on the page. Like it's so, you know, there's a lot of comedies now, and I think there's mostly the comedies that get made recently is like here's
being improvised.
Here's some funny people, let's point a camera at them
and just see what they do
and see what happens. And I'm sure Get Hard did okay because Will Ferrell, Kevin Hart, those are some bankable stars. But you're not gonna make, it's pretty rare that you'll make something that lasts when you're making that type of movie, because what you're asking is people like to come up with gold, you know, spin gold on the spot. And people can do that, skilled people can do that. But
it's like it's not everybody's Dave Chappelle, you know what I mean? And a lot of these guys like Will Ferrell, I mean Kevin Hart's an actual stand-up comedian. I don't know if Will Ferrell's ever done stand-up before. So Kevin is a little bit more like, he's a little better with that kind of material where he can kind of like just go with the flow. And there's a few moments in that film that were funny, but as for like Will Ferrell, he's used to reading a script, and I'm thinking of like Step Brothers. That's another one that's kind of quotable too.
Yeah. It's just this everybody's perfect in it. There's not a lot of names you'd recognize because it's mostly like friends of friends, random people in the town or friends. Like I believe John Hedder's the friend of the Hesses.
Yeah.
Like I could name names, but most of these people are not in a lot of other work. Like the guy that plays Pedro, his name is Efren Ramirez. Like
I've seen him in a few things, very minor roles. He hasn't gotten anything.
Like maybe Haley Duff is the most famous person to us, and she's the least famous of the two Duffs.
Oh yeah,
she's the secondary Duff.
Hillary Duff is the better looking one. So
boom, roasted Haley.
I think a standout for me was Uncle Rico.
Yeah,
Uncle Rico is fucking hilarious.
I kind of lost track when you were going to say that it's clean comedy. There's a little bit of maybe one exception. There's nothing really unclean about it, but it's deeply uncomfortable is once he stops selling Tupperware and he starts selling bust.
Yeah, and he starts being like real creepy to minors and stuff.
Yes. He pulls up on Napoleon's like 15-year-old wannabe girlfriend and is trying to sell her breast enhanced.
I just think he's funny because he's just that guy who's like trying to relive his glory days, and he's like, I bet you I can throw a football over those mountains.
I love there's all these little like moments that make it feel so, all these people feel so like real and specific. Like I remember right when Rico gets into town, he takes Kip to that diner where they have lunch like multiple times, but the first time they're eating, he's eating like chicken fingers and he like dips it in the sauce and then he eats it, but he spills some on his arm, so he has to like pause in what he's talking to grab a napkin and like wipe up his arm, and then he kind of looks around like, did anybody see that? It's those little extra moments that are like what up this from being like, oh, I get it, it's a quirky movie about awkward people, to being like this thing that I really
one of my
love.
favorite parts is like when what's her name comes to the door to sell her little keychains or whatever, and then Kip is like, she's like, I'm trying to raise money for college, and then Kip is like, your mom goes to college.
Your mom goes
and then
to
he
college.
does this like little wince, like where he's laughing to himself. It's just the funniest look ever. It's just so funny. Like it's just stuff like that. It's not in your face comedy. You'd have to really be watching to like notice these certain little cues and stuff, and like it's so genius.
And I wonder if this was more popular like Midwestern versus like if you were like, I wonder what the coastal elites think about this movie.
Yeah, I don't think this movie did too well review wise when it first came out. It's kind of like over the past decade, it's kind of turned into like a cult classic almost.
Well, I read about in their Sundance. So eventually they applied, they got into Sundance. The director actually didn't want them to play because they sent over a rough cut. They have their first showing at Sundance and like they really crush it. And I guess the guy that approved them going to Sundance is also from small town Idaho. So like specifically connected to this guy at Sundance.
Okay, so it hit a nerve with that guy where he's like,
right,
I relate to this shit.
And I think if you like existed in the Midwest anytime from like 1990 to like 2008, like something about this movie is gonna hit you.
Well, for me, I know like Napoleon's house looks like every house in Brooklyn Center, like with the wood paneling, and it just looks super old, and like all the furniture is from the 70s and stuff, and like.
Or like my family lives in South Dakota. Well, came from South Dakota. Some of them exist in South Dakota. But my point is, you travel to South Dakota, like this maybe looks a little different now, but if you traveled there like 10 years ago, it still kind of looked like Napoleon Dynamite. Like there's just parts of America that are like just a few years behind fashion wise.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they're not getting renovations on their house to keep up with like the new modern standards. There's these houses that were made in 1948 and haven't changed ever since, you know. And it's just it's such a this movie's it's a vibe, and it's just
it is a vibe. The music too, and like
they have so much licensed music that I'm like, how did you guys afford this?
I can tell that we are gonna be friends.
Yeah, that's how it opens, and there's they go to the dance, and it's the Forever Young.
Yeah.
I wanna
that
be
must have cost them $1 for that
forever
one.
young. Apparently, the budget for this movie was $400K.
Seriously? I mean, I guess it does kind of have like that handheld cam look to it, or like the
$400K. I believe they were shooting on actual film. They were talking about how they could only take so many takes because they were shooting film. I think digital came along later, so that's pretty normal. But that was like a thing they were concerned about. They're like, we only have so many takes. We got to move along.
Oh, you're right. It was $400K, and then they grossed 44 million, almost 45 million.
And John Heder, Napoleon Dynamite, made $1,000. Yeah. I think they might have renegotiated something in the back end once it became this runaway cult success.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure he got something.
He got $1,000 to do his
shit.
like I think it was like a 30+ day filming.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that happens a lot in the industry though. Like that's not as surprising as it
Yeah, I
seems.
mean, a lot of these people in these indie movies, Pedro said the same thing. He was trying to work his way up, but he's like, I read this script, I really liked it, and I want to find, like, this is something I want to do, and maybe it might be a misstep, like, when you're making this kind of, like, quirky comedy, it's like, specifically this, I think, is maybe one of the most scary things to release, because you don't know, comedy's so personal, you don't know how it's going to hit most people. Like, I can see, even now, even though I love this movie, I can see showing some person this movie that's, you know, not disconnected from this type of comedy and doesn't have that in their background, and they will just watch it and be like, what is this? This is just awkward.
Like you said, it's like it appeals to a certain audience. Like people from the Midwest will probably relate to this film more.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, his name's Aaron Rulis Kip. Very funny. Kip's very quotable. Great. Napoleon, don't be jealous just because I've been chatting online with hot babes all day. Besides, we both know I'm training to be a cage fighter.
He just got these like Jeffrey Dahmer glasses on, and like, he's just the goofiest looking dude.
Just kind of T.O. She hasn't sent me a full body shot yet.
He's very passive aggressive.
I forgot how antagonistic Napoleon and Uncle Rico are. Napoleon fucking hates Uncle Rico. And then he's like, you know, I bet you come back around here and get yourself a job, because you notice me and Kip here, we got jobs. And he's like,
I just made $80 in one day.
He's like, you want to see this video? And Kip's like, it's pretty cool, I guess. And Napoleon's like, this is the worst video ever made.
Or like the time machine plot where it's like they order a time machine. It's like, you know, the instructional video days where it's like you can order these really shitty appliances and stuff, and like somebody was trying to capitalize off like a time machine.
Yeah.
And it's just a super shitty like machine that somebody just built in their garage and they sent it out.
Yeah, the time machine. So there's like a plot to begin. The plot to begin is
Uncle Rico trying to go back to his glory days, or
yeah, kind of. No, I mean, like, there's really no plot until they decide that Pedro's gonna run for office.
Oh,
and that kind of becomes the end thing. Oh, wait, I think there's something before then. Oh no,
it's more so just like a day in the life of
Napoleon I mean, Dynamite. it's like, the day in the life of Napoleon, but yeah, there's nothing going on besides eventually they decide to go run for president. No, Pedro decides to run for president. No. What the first half is getting dates for the school dance.
Yes.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to say anything's the plot, it's, hey, who are you going to ask to the dance. He's like, Summer Wheatley? Are you kidding
She's
me?
like the hottest girl at school.
How are you gonna do it? Build her a cake or something.
One thing I do love about this movie too is like all the high schoolers look like they're in their 30s. Like, especially the jock character.
Yeah, that Summer Wheatley's
He's just
boyfriend.
that dude cracks me up. He's just the goofiest looking
He's
guy.
making all these big like faces. He's like confused face, big scrunchy, angry face. It's just faces constantly.
And he's
changing.
always like laughing at Napoleon and stuff. It's just the funniest shit. Like,
one of my favorite moments is when Uncle Rico won't bring Napoleon in time for the dance, so he gets Pedro's cousins to pick him up.
wait, first he just runs like he just like running down a miles of dirt road, just running back to his town.
He just runs down a gravel road, and then all of a sudden, like, two completely like some vatos pick him up.
In a lowrider.
In a lowrider Camaro, and then he picks him up, and he's going to Trish's house, and the dad's like, what the hell is that in my driveway?
And they got the hydraulic system going.
Yeah, they're dropping up and down. And they don't have anything to do except for that one scene where the bully starts bullying that one kid. And then Napoleon walks up, and he's like, hey, my friend Pedro's running for school president. Pedro offers you his protection. And then he starts getting bullied at the bike rack, and then the dudes in the lowrider pull up and just shake their heads. And then he runs off. It's great. It's a movie about, like, I love a movie about weird people, but it doesn't like look down on them or think they're a joke.
It's not like Revenge of the Nerds or something.
No, it really loves all these people. And that's like, that goes back to when the Hesses said this sort of autobiographical. Like, while you're laughing at these people and laughing at these characters and laughing at like their behavior, at the end you're still like, these are all people you like.
Yeah.
And they're all people that it seems like the movie respects, and they're not a joke, but just like the whole environment.
Even
and
Uncle
everything.
Rico, who's probably the sleaziest one out of everybody, he gets a somewhat happy ending.
That's I was actually watching that. I was like, I don't know if Uncle Rico deserves a happy ending.
Right.
After his last like 10 minutes of hitting on minors,
I think he's just a broken guy, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's probably
the
not
minor
gonna,
thing is a little strange.
The lady that comes back, I don't think is going to work out with him.
No, probably not.
It's probably not going to work out for them. Should we move on?
Yeah.
To It's an Art Bro.
What's this?
It's an art project.
Okay, I like it. Picasso. Yeah, that way.
It's an Art Bro is where we talk about the specifics of the filmmaking process, like sets, effects, lighting, the background details.
Yeah. I think, like we said before, just like the close-up facial shots of characters where it really just lingers on the face and you get to see every pore and every detail.
Yeah.
And then there's something weird going on in the background or something, or like
it's watching it again recently, it surprised me how specific the art style is. It almost feels like a Wes Anderson or like a Coen Brothers movie when they're doing their more like comedic movies, where there's like these people don't act like quote unquote real people. Like they don't act like people that you know necessarily, or unless you live in small town Idaho.
Right.
And it's like, you know, that set framing where people are standing there for a long time, that kind of like stilted humor where it's like, oh, we're just gonna keep going on.
I think a great example of that is when Napoleon got the job at the chicken farm.
Yeah, the chicken farm sequence.
And they're like eating sandwiches that have all these flies like flying
There's
around.
just
them,
flies
and, like,
buzzing around.
The guy's like cracking a raw egg into
They're drinking just whole cups
into a
of
jar, and he's like, "That's good." Like, okay, dig in. Like,
yeah, and then he gets home after his day of work, and he's like, he starts counting. He's like, the dude's like, I don't have my checkbook. You boys mind if I pay you a change? And then he goes home and he counts all the change. He's like, $6?
$6?
That's like $1 an hour. This movie loves small town America, and not in the like Americana Stephen King like Spielberg like isn't America so.
Yeah, this is not like a suburb.
No, or even like it's a lot of small town America, even like Spielberg stuff, but it's not like, oh, America, isn't it so great? It's like, this place is weird and it's funny, and I love all these people.
Yeah, and it's kind of depressing. Like
Yes, but that's like it still has this like nostalgic quality
It has
to
a
it,
charm to it.
where people are like, I can feel the directors being like, I love this place. It might not be a place I will live anymore or live right now, but
I had
like
good memories growing up.
all these characters are people I love, you know?
Yeah.
But one thing I noticed is there's this color scheme going on. And there's lots of like throwback, it's sort of like 90s and 80s, like they're behind the times a little bit. It's 2004 and things haven't quite caught up. But I noticed that in the school that they film, it's like baby blue and then like burnt orange and red lockers.
Yeah.
And then a lot of stuff happens against that background as they're talking in school. And then I also noticed Napoleon's
His shirt.
wardrobes
Yeah.
is baby blue and then like burnt orange and then like yellow on red. And then the Uncle Rico's van is burnt orange. And it's like, it's a little of there's a little like color scheme theme. I think they were mostly just being like, we like this sort of throwback 90s because this is what actually reminds us of our childhood.
Yeah.
But
And like certain characters, even like their wardrobe, like Kip, he dresses like he's in the 80s because he grew up in the 80s probably, and he was an adolescent in the 80s. Like he's like a 30-year-old man.
yeah, and these are like the people that got dressed by their like aunt or their grandma or whatever,
Right.
and they like never decided their own.
Right. And Uncle Rico is like, he dresses like he's in the 70s with the
flared
parachute
pants,
the flared
yeah.
pants and stuff, and
Yeah.
like the really tight shirts with the chain and like
Yeah, he's back in
the porn
'82.
stash.
He's back in '82. If they just put him in,
Yeah.
they could have won state. With Deb has her little like sideways ponytail. I think that was a very like '80s thing. It's just
And then the mean girls or whatever. Like they're the ones that are with the times, kind of.
yeah.
Or they're trying to be with the times, so it's like they put out more and they
If you've
dress
ever
more
spent
modern.
like any time, there's like city cool, and then there's like runway, and then there's like city cool,
And
and
then
then
there's
there's
country
like
cool.
and then there's like small town cool kid, and then there's like small town kid. And it's like all in that order of like timeline. Like
Yeah.
it goes from the runway to the city kid to the small town cool kid to the actual cool kid.
Right.
And they're definitely Haley Duff and her friend Trish, who has to go to the dance with Napoleon because he sent a nice picture.
Let's talk about the drawing. He's a great artist.
He's like, yeah, it's pretty much like the best picture I ever
He's
drew.
he's like, I took like 3 hours on your upper lip. On the shading of your upper lip.
Yeah.
Oh, and it like Trisha's mom is like forcing her to go to the dance with her.
Yeah.
With Napoleon because she's into Uncle Rico. She
Yeah.
got a thing with Uncle Rico.
Uncle Rico just is here to sell Tupperware and bed housewives. That's
Like,
all he's
I'm
here
just
for.
taking care of those 2 boys while their grandma's in the hospital.
2 boys. Meanwhile, Kip, I'm pretty sure, is like 32.
You know, Napoleon, he still wets the bed. Like, such a douchebag.
Yeah. But I guess the thing that mostly struck me is how stylistic the shot choice and the color scheme and how it all like really comes together. Like the opening credits sequence, which is people holding up like different food. There's like a corn dog and the mustard has the credits, and then eventually they have like a chapstick and the directed by is written on the chapstick bottle and stuff like that. That was all
It's very stylistic.
for if you're sitting down and you're saying I have like less than $500,000 to make this movie.
Right.
That's a lot of
I mean, that's how you do it. You get creative, you know?
yeah. I think being creative makes you restricted, makes you more creative.
Yeah.
Not just being like, we'll fix it later or we'll figure it out.
Right.
They had a plan.
And it makes you stand out more compared to everything else. So.
And I guess originally the person holding that was John Heder. Oh, and he that was holding like the opening sequence stuff. But then somebody called in and were like, he's got ugly hands. We need a real hand model. So they Fox flew in a hand model to replace them. So the final is like a hand model
That's
holding
awesome.
them all.
Half their budget went to the hand model.
I think they were like just in addition. Like we can't have a man with hangnails holding stuff in our film. We're not going to do
our
this.
film about teenagers. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. But I guess this thing really crushed at Sundance. Like people loved it. And that's when it really started to steamroll into becoming like a DVD sensation and the thing that, like, I don't think it didn't get a theatrical release at that, and I don't think this theatrical release is what brought in most of the money. It's the home video and the rentals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it really crushed there.
Well, I seen like this is like a interesting little fact, but like some town city of Preston. They have a Napoleon Dynamite Day where they do like a festival, and they do like different things related to the movie.
I think it's supposed to be set there, Preston, Idaho.
Oh, okay, then that
But I don't
makes sense.
think like that's not the real town. I don't know.
No, but
Anyways,
it's I guess it's based on that. But what they do like tater tot eating contests.
That's
and
where they
stuff,
filmed.
And like it's pretty cool that they do that. I don't know if it's still ongoing, but they have in the past.
But it's interesting to me because these guys, they went on to make Nacho Libre, a movie I also love, and then they made a movie called Gentleman Bronco. These guys, it's a guy and his wife, or a wife and this guy, I guess. Stay woke. Girl bosses.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
progressive.
You damn straight. But I guess they went on to do Gentleman Bronco, which didn't get good reviews, so I never watched it. And then they didn't make movies for a while. They had some TV credits, and then there's like a newer movie that stars Sam Rockwell that I think I might be curious to check out, because I wonder, it's like, does it not review well because it's the same thing again, or is it like
It's a
actually
comedy?
bad? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it seems like they didn't go quite on the like upwards trajectory you might think
Yeah.
from here. It seems like they had Nacho Libre, which was a pretty good success, and then after that it's been a little rocky.
Well, I think this movie also like inspired different films too, because like I don't know if you ever seen Juno.
Yeah, Juno.
Yeah, that movie is actually set here in Minnesota. I think it's set in St. Cloud. But it's got that small town feel to it. Everything's super awkward, and the characters are like these underdog characters and stuff. That's actually a great movie too.
Starring formerly Ellen Page.
What is her name now?
Elliot.
Oh, I forgot she did that. Yeah. We're not gonna get into this. I'm not gonna set myself up for this.
I think that's all getting cut out.
Fun fact about Elliot Page: she like tried to sue the people who made The Last of Us because they made
Oh,
the
yeah.
character of Ellie look like Elliot Page. Like,
It's true. It's a big fact.
yeah.
She was also in the X-Men 3 where she's like running away and he's like, "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch." You remember that? That was a blast from the past. X3, The Last
That
Stand.
movie sucked. So fucking bad.
I'm the Juggernaut.
The Juggernaut, bitch. The fucking writer's hats off to them. Like,
Also, the director's a rapist. So,
so
he's the one that was touching boys.
oh,
Bryan Singer. No, Bryan Singer was the original. They both touch boys. Think about that. X-Men touching boys. We're cutting all this.
yeah, probably should.
He didn't.
Oh, fuck.
Okay, back to
Let's get out of It's an Art Bro. Do you have anything else for It's an Art Bro?
No, I think I'm good.
We're gonna move on to our next segment called "Let the Hate Flow Through You."
Good. Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the hate flow through you.
Do you have any annoyances, complaints?
Nothing notable. I think the stuff with like LaFonda gets a little convoluted, or like it's just a little. I think
Might
the
not have
run-
aged well.
Yeah, I think the whole trope of like the white man gets a black chick and he's like a gangster. Like, I mean, in this movie, I can forgive it because it's funny as fuck. Like, Kip just walks in randomly, like LaFonda, he's got like a do rag on and a chain and like a black like leather coat and shit. He's like just trying to act all hard and stuff.
If this movie wasn't so absurd and heightened, Pedro's cousins being like lowrider driving Vatos and LaFonda turning Kip into like.
If you notice, like the principal of the school is like low key racist, like to Pedro.
Yeah.
He's always like, I don't know if you can understand this, or like, do you speak any English? Or
Oh,
like,
after they get him in trouble for beating up a pinata shaped like Haley
I
Duff.
don't know how you do it back in Mexico or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
but around here we don't do that shit. And then he's like, "I'm very confused because he said we could not do pinatas made of real people, but in Mexico we did it all the time."
I can forgive it in this movie, but I don't, and I think the runtime it kind of
What happens is I think
stays its welcome a little bit.
I think what happened was they they realized there's not a lot of plot, so in the middle there's all these like random plots that kind of happen.
Have you seen the deleted scenes?
No, maybe
There's a deleted scene where they go to like they go to their version of Savers or like the thrift shop, and they like steal the suit that Napoleon was wearing or whatever to go to prom, and
his lady suit.
Yeah, and there's like a camera set up right by the suit, and they hold like a book up to the camera, and they just jack the suit or whatever. Like that's like I guess a bunch of stuff got cut out of this film just for the runtime. But.
So after they do the dance, which is kind of like the first part of the plot, there's the milk testing and dairy cow competition.
Yeah, that felt kind of like
goes nowhere. It's just a bunch of one-off gags to like extend the movie. It seems like.
That one has bleach.
Like, yeah, that one has bleach. The defect in that one is bleach, and they're like, yes. And then Pedro's
like, yeah.
Pedro's like, this one, it has a 5th udder. A good milking cow has 4 udders, and they're like, yes, you're absolutely right.
But I think that was all like for Pedro's campaign or whatever. Like he had to do all these things to be able to run.
What about when Pedro's too hot and he decides, I went to the bed. I went in my bathtub and I took a cold bath, but I was still hot. And then I realized it was my hair that was making me hot.
So he shaved it all off.
What did that have to do with anything besides they get him a nice wig at Deb's work?
He was too hot.
That's what I'm saying. It just seems like in the middle part, I don't even hate them, but I was like, oh, this movie just kind of lost the thread, and we're just doing bits for a while. Like all the scenes of like, honestly, Uncle Rico and Kib don't have much to do. They're just selling Tupperware at first, which I love the scene where Kib he puts the Tupperware behind the van wheel and he runs it over and it just absolutely gets obliterated.
Dang it.
And he's like, dang it. And then he just leaves. He doesn't even stop and grab his shit. He just drives off. Dang it.
Yeah, no real complaints about this movie.
No.
Everything is just, I mean, I think it just ages very well too. Even though the movie itself doesn't age, it's just, I don't know. It's got a certain quality, a certain charm that I will continuously go back to this and watch.
I would say, Kaylin, if any of us is full of hyperbole, it's you. Whenever you like a new thing, you're like top 5 all time.
I say it in the moment, but then I have time to think about it. But here's the thing. That's how Hollywood gets you, man.
That's how they get you. Yeah. You're like, you should write like clickbait articles.
I could capitalize big.
You would believe it for the week, and then you'd be like, wait, no, never mind. Now that I got some perspective.
I mean, I do that on some things, like things I'm really into. Or like a genre that I'm really into, but I don't know. Then I get time to think about it and I sober up real quick. You know?
What I'm saying is, I'm not trying to paint you in a corner, but I think I'm less so. I'm usually more reserved with my praise.
You're more of a stickler, that's for sure.
And I would say, this movie has a timeless quality. This movie, I think, will like stand the test of time for a lot of people. People that already like it, and I think you can still, I'm sure there's new Napoleon Dynamite fans. Somebody, gets a new girlfriend, gets a new boyfriend, is like, you know what my favorite movie is? And they're like, Napoleon Dynamite. And you're like, what's that? And they show them, and they're like, ha ha ha.
I'm like, what kind of rock do you have to be living under to not know Napoleon Dynamite?
I'm sure people know, like, the Vote for Pedro shirts and all that shit, but you might not have watched it. But I just think it's one of those movies that is so, like...
Like, they still have shirts at, like, of Napoleon Dynamite at, like, Spencer's and stuff. And, like, there's still, like, merchandise from Napoleon Dynamite. You can buy at these, like, obscure gift shops and stuff. Like, the movie, like you said, stood the test of time. It's still here, and people still enjoy it.
It's almost a 20-year-old movie at this point. Damn.
That makes me feel very old and disgusting.
And it's great. And I think that's where we come to answer the question.
You lost a baby brother. Perfect in every way.
I had a baby brother. I had a little baby brother. And he was perfect. Perfect in every way.
Is this a perfect movie? Is this going to join... Our only other one on the list right now is The Empire Strikes Back.
I would say yes. As far as the comedy goes, it's got great humor, great characters.
And it's not like referential. Like certain comedies will be like only relevant as long as you get like the references and the context and time. This is just funny people.
Yeah, it's not trying to ape off nostalgia or like throw a Ghostbusters t-shirt in your face, or, you know, it does things very, very tastefully, and it's just very well made. And I would say, yeah, it's a perfect film.
I'm putting it on the list. It is a perfect movie. I would say if you haven't watched Napoleon Dynamite, you should probably go watch it, and then go watch Nacho Libre, because it's like that, but just add Jack Black.
Yeah.
Which, hell yes, I'm there. And
I don't think that movie would be as politically correct now. If it was
do you think? I feel like it's the same way about
Robert Downey Jr. and his blackface.
No, I'm talking
in
about
Tropic Thunder.
Oh, you talking about Tropic Thunder?
Yeah.
Yeah, his blackface is a little tough, but that's still a very funny movie. Tropic Thunder.
I don't get mad at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people would find that offensive, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think comedy should be filtered. As long as you're not being like...
I would say probably don't make another movie with blackface, Robert Downey Jr.
Right.
But like, it's funny. It's a funny character. Yeah. It's a very funny character.
Yeah. And like Nacho Libre is... I mean, Jack Black, he's not Mexican. So I mean he might be Hispanic in some way or form, but...
Wait, hold on. Let's find out. Let's get to the bottom of this. Jack Black ethnicity. Why does it say eyebrows? Oh, I guess he does do an eyebrow thing a lot. Let's find out. Jack Black? What is more like Jack White? Just kidding. He's Jewish. Should have known, right? Typical.
That makes it so much better.
We have this new movie, you see? It's about a Jewish man. He's a luchador in Mexico, you see? Like, get out. Get out.
The movie is still funny. I don't give a fuck.
I don't even think it's problematic, because I think it does love Mexico. It's just
it does have a lot of like Mexico love, you know?
Yeah. Anyways, watch this. Watch Napoleon.
Did you know that they made a animated series of Napoleon Dynamite?
I was going to say that, and it flopped.
Yeah,
I watched, I think, the first 2 episodes, and only 6 episodes existed. They canceled it like as soon as they fucking could.
Yeah, it's probably for the best.
Yeah, I mean, good thing they never made a sequel.
Was it the original voice actors?
Yeah. It was like the original characters, I think, for the most part. Yeah, I just say, I hope to God, please, don't do like Jay and Silent Bob this or whatever and make a sequel, or Bill and Ted this. Make a sequel like 20 years later.
Fuck no.
Never do that.
No.
Nobody do that.
This is one of those films where it's fine on its own. You don't need anything else.
Don't touch it.
Leave it alone.
Hands off.
Disney, leave it alone before Disney gets the
Oh,
rights
they
to
do.
Napoleon
I'm pretty
Dynamite.
sure they do own Fox Searchlight.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, Jesus. There's going to be a new Disney universe where Napoleon Dynamite, Pedro's got his own, like, series.
New Napoleon Dynamite series on Disney Plus.
It's like Pedro in Mexico.
Oh, no. They would do it, too.
Yeah, they would. They'd be like, how did Pedro get to America?
Oh, no.
Let's show that story.
He, like, met up with his Cholo cousins.
How did Pedro get all the way to Idaho?
Oh,
we answer these questions in our new Disney special, Pedro.
Jesus Christ.
What really happened at Uncle Rico's football game? Let's see this at the new Disney Plus special.
It's a Disney Plus
Rico.
series about Napoleon's grandma and how she's like a stunt woman or something. Like,
how did Grandma learn to drive so well at the dunes?
at the dunes.
What the frick was Grandma doing at the dunes? Questions answered. Disney Plus, August 31st.
My favorite line again is like, "Way to eat all the flipping chips, Kip."
Make yourself a dang quesadilla. I love when he's making. Did you notice he's making nachos? Kip is trying to make nachos, but it's just a plate of tortilla chips.
He's just shredding cheese over
it. He's got a big brick of cheese. Which, if you've ever been in a white Midwestern household, at some point they shredded cheese and put it in the oven and called it nachos,
or put it in the microwave nachos, and you would eat it. Didn't taste very good.
Look, melted cheese. I'm with it. You need more than that. That's not nachos, but I've been there.
You have to use real queso.
Those are my people, Kalen.
Okay.
I speak for the whites.
All right, not trying to be offensive to you, man. Don't cancel me, bro, please. Yeah, would you say this is the most quotable movie of all time? Since we've been quoting this the entire time.
Hyperbole King.
Or one of the most...
It is certainly I haven't quoted it in a while.
But you still remember it. I mean, this
I
film came out 20 years ago.
I haven't quoted in a while, but it's a very quotable movie. All the moments, all the little quotes. Yeah, I mean, anytime I still go, like, shut up, god dang it. Like, I might not be saying quotes, but like my voice and my attitude
And you
is
kind of look like Napoleon.
entirely inspired by Napoleon Dynamite. Yeah. Ouch. Okay, I'll take that.
Napoleon's a handsome guy.
Is he though?
No,
not at all. Thanks though. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a perfect movie. It's on the list.
It's on the list.
So, number 1, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Number 2, Napoleon Dynamite.
Some people might murder us for this.
This is going to be great.
It's a very controversial
Right
statement.
now, we should make a list and post it. Just be like the best 2 movies of all time so far in parentheses and just put those 2. And make it public and make everyone share it and
then there's going to be a bunch of internet
the best
warriors.
movies to come in the last 70 years.
Napoleon Dynamite, number 1.
All time
List 200.
All right. Are we done?
Yeah.
Bless you guys. Thank you for listening. If you are on Spotify, there's a little button on the Spotify app where it says rate this podcast. Give us a freaking 5 stars.
Rate it.
If you're on YouTube, click a like. Click the heart if you're on SoundCloud.
It doesn't take much effort.
Apple Music may come eventually, but guess what? They don't like me. I've been trying to fix it, and they don't want to deal with me.
Just stop being a little bitch.
It's because I own an Android, and they hate me.
That might be the reason.
They're probably Android racist.
Yeah.
Down at Apple.
I got an iPhone. So
They see a green dot, and they just want to eliminate you. They see me as competition. Next time, Apple.
Android sucks anyway. So.
Fuck you, Steve Jobs.
Whoa.